Kentucky State Police are looking for the people who killed a young man in southeastern Kentucky.
The investigation into 5 fires in 4 different counties is continuing.
We're building the building. Now, at some point in time, shut up.
We will hear the words of a developer on the Centerpoint project so far, who he says is partially responsible for delays in construction.
This is WKYT News at 5.
A southern Kentucky family wants to know why someone killed a young father in his home.
State police say Shane Mills was shot to death on Trace Branch Road in Knox County last night. The Mills family tells us his mother may have spoken to the killer on the phone. WKYT's Phil Pendleton explains in our top story at 5.
Police were called to the home in this scenic Knox County valley on Trace Branch Road just after 9 o'clock Wednesday night.
They killed my son, cold-blooded murder.
But who did it remains a mystery. The 29-year-old man's body was discovered in the home's living room. Willie B. Mills says his mother actually heard the gunfire, then called next door to see if Shane was okay. Only Shane didn't answer the phone.
She must ask him what he's doing. He says he's helping Shane fix a sink, which I think is false.
In fact, Mills says he saw a suspicious man with his son Wednesday afternoon.
And I asked him, I said, what are you doing here? You know, like that. He said, there's some guy brought me up here and dropped me off out there and left me. And they hadn't supposed to leave me. And he goes down the road walking. So if they can find this guy, then I'll identify him.
Mills leaves behind an 8-year-old son himself.
Well, I've tried all night long because Shane was my pick. You know, I have 2 more kids. And Shane always was right with me and helped me.
He says Shane could fix anything, and just yesterday had put a new belt on a lawnmower. Willie Mills says he believed his son was getting his life in order.
And it wasn't about drugs, because he had no drugs. He'd take drugs if you give them to him. Yeah, I kept him broke where he wouldn't have no money.
State police say whether there was forced entry remains under investigation. In Knox County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Relatives say that Knox Funeral Home will be handling arrangements for Shane Mills.
Keep an eye out for anything suspicious. That's what authorities are asking people to do after a string of arsons across central Kentucky. So far, 5 house fires in Jessamine, Garrett, Scott, and Fayette counties have all been connected to the crime spree. WKYT's Victor Puente is tracking the investigation from Jessamine County.
The investigation into these fires is continuing. Kentucky State Police say they need the public's help to find the person or people responsible. Monday morning, this Jessamine County home was burglarized, then set on fire. State police say 4 other fires they're investigating are likely connected. The latest was Tuesday morning in Scott County. Homes in Garrett and Fayette counties were also targeted, and that's led law enforcement to cast a wide net when it comes to suspects. They do have a vehicle description that might be connected, a silver or gray Chevy Cobalt or Cavalier, but they don't have any arrests. The cause of that Scott County fire is still under investigation. With 2 homes in their county having been hit, the Jessamine County Sheriff's Office is increasing patrols in rural areas, but they admit it's a lot of area to cover, which is why they're asking people to be watchful of vehicles that might not belong at their neighbors' homes. Deputies say these crimes just don't make sense.
We've had burglaries. I've seen burglaries before, but to see what happened to these people's homes after the burglaries, I've never seen that in 27 years.
The Kentucky State Police Arson Task Force is offering up to a $1,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible for these fires. In Jessamine County, Victor Puente, WKYT.
State police are also asking people living in those areas near the fires to check their surveillance video to see if they have caught anything suspicious. It's been a cold and a cloudy day for many of us.
But the good news, better weather is on the way. WKYT Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey's here now with an improving forecast. That's good news.
It really is good news, all about timing. And earlier this week, we thought that Friday through Saturday time frame had the best chance of delivering the best weather of the entire week and likely into next week as well. You know what? That still looks to be the case. Nothing really good about the weather today. We are much colder than we should be. Low and mid 50s. Harlan I'm so sorry. 48 degrees your current thermometer right now, southeastern Kentucky. A lot of readings earlier in the day. We're into the upper 30s to start things out. A lot of clouds across the region right now. That's the live view out on top of Winchester Road, Hamburg Pavilion. 53 into Lexington. Winds are gusting 16 miles an hour. So that 53 likely feels like the 40s right now. Rain southeastern Kentucky. You've got the best chance of seeing some rain kind of backing in from the east. Everybody else with a partly cloudy sky and a passing sprinkle or a very light shower. Low pressure, stubborn. Same low that was with us yesterday, giving us those hail-producing showers and storms. Get on out of town, and it's finally going to do just that. Though that future radar hour by hour still showing anyone fair game for a shower or two as the evening wears on. Your Friday forecast looking much better after another chilly night. Then we focus on the weekend forecast and the possibility, guys, of some thunderstorms crashing into town just in time for Mom's Derby Day. Question mark there, and I'll show you that as we try to answer it with the hour-by-hour forecast in a bit.
Chris, thank you. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton say they are ready to battle each other for votes in the general election.
Before they get there, both have a few hurdles, though, in their way. Craig Boswell is in Washington with our campaign 2016 coverage.
Donald Trump, the presumptive GOP nominee, gets back on the campaign trail today. While there are no more Republican candidates in his way, he faces a huge challenge in unifying a splintered Republican Party.
Usually, when somebody wraps up the nomination, you see party leaders the next day saying, thank goodness, now we can unify. What people are saying this morning is, oh my God, what have we done here?
The last two Republican presidents, George W. and George H.W. Bush, have no plans to endorse Trump. And now Mitt Romney, the Republican nominee in 2012, is skipping the GOP convention altogether.
Trump says he won't change his attacking style as he squares off against Hillary Clinton. It's a style that helped take down 16 opponents in the primaries.
You know, I am who I am. I don't like to change. I don't like to really change. I feel I'm a presidential person.
Trump's tactics have hurt him in some polls with higher negative ratings than Hillary Clinton. But before she makes it to November, Clinton has to first beat Bernie Sanders. She's campaigning in California Thursday ahead of that state's primary next month. Craig Boswell, CBS News, the White House.
Bernie Sanders would need to win 85% of the remaining delegates and convince superdelegates to change their vote to win the Democratic nomination. A new traffic signal at the intersection of Todd's Road and Hayes Boulevard has been activated. That is the same intersection where a worker died yesterday in a trench collapse. 22-year-old Tyler Williams was killed while working on a project to widen Todd's Road. The traffic signal was originally scheduled to be turned on yesterday.
A judge reduced bond for a former constable charged in a prostitution ring. Our county-by-county coverage begins in Franklin County. Thomas Banta's bond was originally set at $50,000 full cash. It's now down to 10%. Police say Banta ran the ring from his private security business. The State Journal reports he and his co-defendant, Hendra Dre Valentine, will be arraigned tomorrow morning. Banta was the Franklin County constable from 2011 to 2014. In Clark County, a deputy is recovering after a prisoner head-butted him. The sheriff says Corey Cox assaulted the deputy after they arrived at the jail sally port. Some other deputies were there. The sheriff says they had to use tasers, pepper spray, and a restraining chair to get Cox under control. The Winchester Sun reports the deputy went to the hospital where he was diagnosed with a concussion. He'll be back on duty in a few days. And in Whitley County, a man facing charges after police say he tried to kidnap a family member's child. 49-year-old Doyle Fox is charged with kidnapping and theft by extortion of more than $10,000. He was in jail on other charges when police charged him in this case. Fox has pled not guilty, and the case has been waived now to a grand jury.
He says his critics share the blame for years of delays. Today, the developer of Centerpoint talked about moving the project forward and what he says is holding it up. Dudley Webb made the comments during a forum at the University of Kentucky. WKYT's Mark Barber takes us to that forum.
While 8 years of delays have racked up dozens of detractors, Dudley Webb says he is moving on with the construction of Centerpoint, and he hopes others are ready to move forward too.
We're building the buildings. Now, at some point in time, shut up.
That was Webb's strong response when he was questioned repeatedly about funding for the downtown development. He says Centerpoint's underground parking garage should be finished by the end of the year. Webb says he and another man that he's in business with are paying for the $38 million garage. Webb says they have not started pouring concrete yet because they still have to make sure water is not seeping out of limestone in the area. In the next 3 months, Webb says retaining walls will start to go up, and those walls will be followed by an office tower and 2 hotels, a Marriott and a Residence Inn. The plans for those buildings are still being modified and improved. Webb thinks part of the blame for all the delays centered around the controversial project falls on journalists and city officials who have sharply criticized the development. He says the negativity can turn away lenders.
They see what these people, the naysayers, are saying, what crooks we are. It just makes it more difficult, and in spite of that, we're going forward.
Webb says the delays that have been frustrating for so many people are also costly for him. He says it costs $35,000 to keep these construction cranes here every month. In Lexington, Mark Barber, WKYT.
So the big question, who is paying for CenterPoint? Webb says the money will likely come from private equity, private investors, and private banks. He says he can't announce who is involved until they sign the contracts. 80,000 people have had to evacuate their city because of a wildfire. We have an update on efforts to stop it.
The Food and Drug Administration announcing new regulations for e-cigarettes. The rules makers must now follow in Better Living.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey.
Area of low pressure across the Carolinas still throwing some ugly weather into the bluegrass state. It's been the same little culprit with us for the past few days. We wanted to get on out of the Carolinas, get out in the ocean. Let's take a look at it here on the Defender Radar Network. Broad view to start things out. It is right on top of the Charlotte area, slowly pivoting toward the east, toward the Outer Banks eventually, and then on out in the ocean. That will allow for a lot of nice weather to blow in here second half of tomorrow into at least part of the big weekend. Up close and personal now, best chance for some rain, southeastern Kentucky, where your temperatures for the better part of the day have been in the 40s. A light shower or two into parts of the region. Sprinkles for many of us. So if you're out at a baseball field this evening, a softball field, soccer, whatever your flavor to be outside this evening, you're going to need the jackets. Rain gear, you could probably leave at home, though a passing shower or a light sprinkle is a possibility for a few of us. Spotty. Low 50s, as good as it gets into most of the region. Here's the breakdown now as we head into that big weekend. Oaks Day, it's mainly dry, small chance for a little shower in the far eastern Kentucky early in the day. Derby Day, now we're talking upper 70, 75 to 80 most areas. Can't rule out a late day shower or thunderstorm as of now. A lot of that holds off until after the Derby. I say as of now. I reserve the right to change the timing on that. Mother's Day forecast. Scattered thunderstorms around moms with a few sunny breaks in there, but overall, that's the best chance of rain over the next few days. Here's a little better look at that Oaks Day forecast. So cloudy in the morning. You wake up, you have the overcast conditions. Be a little patient. Give us a few hours to work on that sky by the afternoon. 65 to 70 coming your way. Here we go now. Hour by hour forecast. Got some new numbers to share with you. 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock. That's a quick drop into the upper 40s. But skies do begin to clean up a little bit. Southeastern Kentucky are in the clouds for the first half of tomorrow. Then look what happens into the afternoon. Even there, you start to see some sunshine. We go from the low 60s to the upper 60s, 70 out at Churchill Downs. Looking good. Tomorrow evening, Derby Eve parties, 50s for the most part. Into the region on Saturday comes a warm front to begin the day. Notice the 40s in the east, that little band of some clouds. That's a warm front. I've seen those produce a little sprinkle from time to time. Noontime, 70s. How about 5 o'clock on Saturday, 75 to 80. Then look what happens as we go through the evening. That's why we're walking a fine line. Thunderstorms begin to crash in. And then on Mom's Day, we've got a boundary that is stalled out across the region that will give us the chance for some thunderstorms during that time. And once we get that stormy pattern to set up shop Saturday night into Sunday, we're going to be in the stormy weather into next week. Not going to rain the entire time, but we will be talking about a daily threat for some showers and some thunderstorms. And don't forget, Tuesday night, Kentucky Theater, downtown Lexington, Twister turns 20. We're going to share it with you, and you can become a WKYT weather watcher as well. Go to WKYT.com for the free tickets.
It's free.
Awesome.
It's impossible if I find that movie on and it's in the middle of it, I have to watch at least some of it. I can't turn away.
And this may be your only chance to watch it on the big screen.
That's so cool.
All right, and we'll show you guys how to be weather watchers too.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Live look at Lexington rush hour traffic this afternoon. One collision on the books at the moment. That one's at Mendino in Georgetown that has one lane of Mendino blocked, so it's passable there, outbound Georgetown at least. Drive times this afternoon. So far to Paris, looks good on Paris Pike. Police are running radar both directions is there, though, near the Fayette-Bourbon County line. And on into Scott County on 75, they're trouble-free. Now back to you in the studio.
When your doorbell rings, you don't expect to find this on the other side. See this alligator surprise visits.
The suspects in a shooting that killed a young woman headed to court. What a judge decided about their cases on WKYT News at 5:30.
Up with the latest news on WKYT.com. Join the conversation on Twitter and become a part of the WKYT Facebook family.
A Canadian city has declared a state of emergency as a wildfire threatens to destroy the area. 80,000 people have been forced to leave Fort Murray in Alberta. A sudden shift in the winds last night caused the fire to change direction towards the city center. Emergency crews went door to door telling people to get out.
It's something like you'd see out of the movies. The bank was on fire when we were driving in. The trailer park that was there is gone. The Super 8's gone. One of the gas stations is gone.
More than 250 firefighters are battling the flames. Crews saved the water treatment plant, but the fire is moving closer to the airport, where all commercial flights have been suspended.
Former Cleveland Browns quarterback Johnny Manziel made his first court appearance in a domestic violence case today. A Dallas judge set the conditions for Manziel's bond, telling him he can't be in contact with the victim and he cannot have any guns. A grand jury indicted Manziel last month after his ex-girlfriend said he hit and threatened her. No plea was entered, but his attorney says he plans to plead not guilty. Bill Cosby is asking the Pennsylvania Supreme Court to issue an emergency stay in his criminal trial. Cosby faces felony charges in an alleged sexual assault on a Temple University employee in 2004. Last week, a lower court ruled the case can move forward. Cosby's attorneys are asking the state Supreme Court to put the case on hold while it's reviewed.
A surprising guest showed up at a South Carolina home. Listen to this. A man walking his dog spotted an alligator, of all things, trying to ring a neighbor's doorbell. And at one point, you can see the gator reaching his claws or arm up toward the button. The gator eventually moved to the side of the house where he appeared to be trying to get into the backyard.
No alligators could actually climb, and this alligator looked like he was really trying to make an attempt to get over the fence and into this woman's pool in the backyard.
Well, in all, the gator creeped around the neighborhood for about an hour before finally leaving. The homeowner says the alligator didn't ring the bell, but did leave a few scratch marks behind. Well, if that's all left behind, you're lucky.
Yes, you don't want to find that in your swimming pool, that's for sure.
Unbelievable, doing some mulching there. The state auditor talking to us about his investigation into the Kentucky Horse Park. We'll hear from him ahead on WKYT News at 5:30.
It is time now for better living, health, education, and consumer news that impacts your life. E-cigarettes will no longer be sold to anyone under age 18. The Food and Drug Administration issued a long-awaited ruling on the product today. In order to stay on the market, e-cigarettes will also have to meet federal health standards.
The rule also will allow the FDA to evaluate the ingredients of these additional tobacco products, how the products are made, and their potential impact on public health.
Some people use e-cigarettes thinking it is a healthier alternative to traditional cigarettes, but the possible health benefits and potential dangers of e-cigarettes remain unclear. The head of the Tobacco Vapor Electronic Cigarette Association called the FDA ruling unfortunate, saying it will force 9 million Americans back to using tobacco cigarettes. Breast cancer patients have more treatment options. The medical community is focusing on doing plastic surgery immediately after removing the tumors. As Marley Hall shows us, the surgery has both physical and emotional benefits.
Nancy Neenstead and her husband walk 4 miles every day. The 63-year-old is trying to live healthy after being diagnosed with breast cancer last November. Doctors told her they had to remove the tumor.
It would just be a constant reminder of the cancer, you know, that
that your body now is not what it used to be.
Nancy chose a lumpectomy with immediate reconstruction. Surgeon Christine Rohde says women with larger breasts and smaller tumors are ideal candidates for oncoplastic surgery. Those patients get a reduction in both breasts for symmetry.
I think it is still a technique that not everyone is doing and not everyone is aware of.
Some early-stage breast cancer patients can get a mastectomy and implants at the same time, but women who choose a lumpectomy often have to wait until after radiation treatments to get implants.
Anytime we put an implant in for reconstruction and then the patient goes on to have radiation, what it can do is it can make the skin harder, it can discolor the skin.
Nancy says she's happy with her decision.
It was kind of nice. They got a lift and a little bit of a reduction, so I don't know. I felt good about it.
She looks terrific.
Oh, thank you.
Nancy has finished chemotherapy and will soon undergo radiation treatments. She says she is looking forward to a vacation to celebrate her recovery. Marley Hall, CBS News, New York.
Well, there's certainly something to celebrate. Now, here's what's coming up for you at 5:30.